There we go. Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome everybody to the BUUSD School Board meeting of March 13th, 2024. This is our reorganization meeting, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. And our first order of business is to open the floor to nominations for board chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Michael Booten for chair.
We have a nomination for Michael Booten. Is there a second?
I nominate Terry Rail.
Second.
Wait,
Juliana's.
we have a second for the nomination for Michael. Okay. So right now we have a motion on the floor to nominate Michael Booten for chair, seconded by Emily. All those in favor of Michael being?
Point of order.
Yes.
It has if there are any other nominations.
Is that how we do this first?
Yeah.
Or
That's
do
how we did it last year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Get that straight. Are there any other nominations for board chair?
Yes, I nominate Terry Rail.
So we have a nomination for Terry Real from Nancy. And is there a second?
Second, I'll second that.
Second from Alice. Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations for board chair? Okay, all right. So the first motion was his nomination for Michael. And all those in favor of Michael Booten being board chair say aye, and it would be helpful maybe if we go around. So just for the sake of the minutes and all that. So we can start with Juliana.
Aye.
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 Catherine?
No.
Nay.
No.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye. Terry? Nay. Nay. Garrett?
Aye.
Okay. Sonia?
Aye.
Nancy?
Nay.
Okay. I believe we have a 5-4 vote in favor of Mr. Booten. Mr. Booten, congratulations. I'm going to hand the meeting over to you, sir.
All right, next order of business would be to elect a board vice chair. Nominations.
I nominate Terry.
I decline.
Hmm?
I decline.
I nominate Juliana.
Any,
Second.
are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
No. No.
Aye. So the motion passes. Giuliano Ceccanelli is vice chair. No nominations to elect a board clerk.
I nominate Sonia Spalding.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Discussion? Any other nominations? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Oh, well, Nancy voting no.
No.
Terry voting no.
I'll vote yes.
Catherine? Okay.
No.
No? Okay. Motion passes. Sonia Spalding is board clerk.
I have a question.
Sure.
You asked for if there was any discussion, but there was no, nobody asked for a discussion on the,
I know, I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
okay, all right.
All right. Choosing a time for the board to meet. Any recommendations? Terry?
I think it's the same as it is, the second and fourth Wednesday of each month on 6 p.m.
Do I have a second? All right.
Second.
Okay, just, that one will be a discussion. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right,
Aye.
okay. Board retreat date. What do we want to do for board retreat day? Does anyone have any preference?
think it makes sense, Michael, to do them right off in April. I don't think it's smart to wait on the retreat. I think the earlier the better. Our two board meetings that month are the 10th and the 24th. I think, did last year we do it on a board meeting?
I believe so, but remember the 24th is a school vacation week, so that's something to bear in mind as
There's
well.
budget implications too, right? Probably.
Could,
Budget.
yeah, hopefully not, but possibly.
Okay. I accidentally turned off my phone, so I'm turning it on for my calendar. So you're suggesting the 10th or the 24th?
Well, the 24th, there's a vacation.
24th
Okay.
of April is vacation week.
Okay.
So April 10th? What day of the week is that?
Wednesday, right?
Wednesday? And what time would we meet?
We usually do 4 p.m.
I want to say they've been 4 to 8 with a dinner,
4 to 8.
with a dinner, you know, break and stuff. I believe that's what it was last time. We did decide on April 10, am I correct?
I do apologize, but my phone is deciding not.
Well, there is a little bit of a lull for those who are here visiting, who are guests by Rachel is a sign-up sheet. If you can make sure you sign that sheet for us. Somebody's holding it up, I think. Thank you.
So Michael, would that mean we only have one? We have no board meeting then in April, just the retreat? Because we have vacation.
Yeah, that's probably not a good thing.
Maybe April isn't the month this year.
That's
Yeah.
when we were gonna have the approval of the budget.
That's right. The approval of the budget has to be on the 10th. I mean, maybe it makes sense to pick a separate date. I would agree with Terry that April would be a good time to have a retreat.
How about the 4th? What does the 4th look like for folks? Or we could do Wednesday, the 3rd. I think that's a curriculum meeting. We could cancel that or not.
The first week in April, probably a little early, but
Too early? Okay.
so your off weeks for committees are the second, fourth weeks. So you could do Monday or Monday the 22nd. Monday's probably not ideal, but those dates are both wide open. Doesn't offset any other meetings.
It's everyone's pleasure.
I'm sorry, is the vacation that full week in April, the 20, starting on the 22nd, so
22nd to 26th, I want to say.
maybe the 8th then?
Is that okay with everybody? Do we want to do the 8th for the board retreat?
I cannot do the 8th.
Okay. Is there a date that you can do that week?
I could do, I have another meeting on Thursday, but I can do Tuesday the 9th.
I
But,
can't do Tuesdays.
Oh, right.
oh, right, I forgot. Sorry, Michael.
Oh, 8th is the eclipse.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
We
definitely.
will want to avoid that.
So never mind, the 8th is absolutely out. So
All credit to Karen Fredericks for
What about
saving
the
the day
11th?
with that message.
anybody want to
Could
do the
we-
11th?
Could we
Sure.
do the off week of the 17th of April?
I can't do the 17th.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, that's fine.
That day or the week?
I have another meeting that night to go to.
What about
So,
the 18th?
what about,
Let's
could
do
we,
it.
do you think we could get the budget approved and maybe before and then do the retreat after?
I
Is
do
that a
not want
possibility?
to put those two things.
You're probably right. Just trying
I
to
would
think about-
say, how about the 18th? What has everybody got for the 18th?
I could do that.
That works for me.
Alice?
Yeah, I can do the
Catherine?
18th.
Looks like the 18th, Nancy and Sonia?
Yeah,
No,
that
I
works for
can't.
me.
I can't do the 18th.
Okay. About the 11th? Everybody's good with the 11th? Nancy, Sonia?
I have another meeting, but I can miss it if I have to.
Nancy?
Yes? That's
Okay.
fine.
You can do the 11th?
Yep.
I mean, we could do, I mean, I don't have a problem with doing a Friday or a Saturday, but I think people get a little squeamish about those days. If that works, are you okay with canceling your meeting, Sonia?
It's fine. Yep.
Okay, so the 11th. I appreciate that. And that goes until 8 o'clock.
April 11th, 48, yes.
All right. Moving on to, do we need a motion for that?
You already have one.
Okay,
You have one first and second.
okay, motion to, sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to committees. My preference is that we have balanced committees. Moving from that, it does say, 3 members per committee. So we'll do finance first. Who would like to be on finance?
Can I ask
Can
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. What do you mean by a balanced committee?
Just there's some, we had like a 4-4 split for the finance. It's probably good to have, just an off number.
So 3?
Yeah.
Can I ask a
So,
question?
sure.
How is having an odd number balanced?
Yeah, I know. I thought about that as I said it, but I meant, do we want to do 4 members or do we want to do 3 members? I
But
think
if you have 3 members, if you have 3 members and 2 from the community, that's fine.
correct.
So that's a balanced committee there.
It would, but it would be, I think the issue is whether or not we would break a tie. So we don't want to have another situation where we have a tie coming out of a finance. I think that's what that I think would be a good idea not to have. I'll put it out to the board, what you guys think. Any comments?
Should be on.
Should be on.
Should be on.
It says at least 3 board members and the board makes the final decision. So tie really doesn't matter in a committee. It just makes it look awkward because they break a tie and then the board makes whatever decision it does. So if it's a even split, doesn't really matter. The board has the final say.
Good point. Sonia?
I was going to say the same thing or something similar. The committees only make recommendations to the board. And so if the committee isn't able to make a recommendation, that just goes to the board as the committee wasn't able to make a recommendation and then the board decides anyway. So I would agree with Giuliano. I think having an odd number is probably better, but I don't think it's imperative.
Right. Well, it will be the choice of the board for that. So nominations for finance. We do nominations or do we want to just do motions? Because I'm okay either way. Say nominations.
Oh, no, I just raise your hand. I'll do
Yeah,
that.
so raise your hand if you want to be on finance. We got Catherine. Anyone else? Sonia? Anyone else? And Emily? Anyone else? Going once, going twice? All right, so a motion to have Emily, Catherine, and Sonia on the finance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chris, are you writing this down?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, and do we want to keep the days? We decided to keep the days all the same, correct? Okay. Moving on to facilities. Who wants to be on facilities? Giuliano wants to be on facilities. Garrett wants to be on facilities. Anybody else? We need one more person.
PDD.
All right. To be determined.
So who do we have?
Juliana and Garrett.
Juliana and Garrett?
Well, I know it says 3. But, I guess we'll just leave this floating then. Curriculum. Who wants to be on curriculum? Alice? Garrett? Anyone else? Catherine? All right. I'll have a motion for that. Someone?
I moved that.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All right, all those, discussion? Sarah?
I just
Sarah,
have a question. You didn't do a motion for facilities. And then my question is about the community members for the committees.
Sure, so we don't have enough for facilities, so we're tabling that right now. And we're moving on to curriculum.
Community members are chosen.
And yeah, community members will be chosen later. All right, discussion?
As in later at the meetings or like
April.
Next,
I think they interviewed the March 27th meeting,
right,
which is in 2 weeks. We've had people express interest, and Tina's inviting them to come to the meeting in 2 weeks to you know, say their piece as to why they'd like to join the committees. And then they would join the April meeting.
where should interested parties send their letter of interest?
Tina.
Tina Gilbert,
Wasn't it posted before?
it was.
But it's good to let people know again.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we do have a lot of people on here. So if you are interested in being on a committee, reach out to Tina Gilbert, and her email address is tgilbert.
T-Gilb,
Gilb.
T-Gilb, BSU.
Spell it so that.
Yeah, and we'll get this out to people again, but TGILB BSU at BUUSD.org. That is a horrible email. Sorry, Tina, but that's a lot. But anyway, we'll get this out. We'll get that message out. We've gotten some folks interested already.
And you can also send I'm assuming that's what you're suggesting is.
No, Paul had his hand raised.
Oh, Paul.
Well, for clarity, since we have 2 community members, are you still abiding by the same rules that they are voting members of that committee?
I would assume that's the case. I
That's the
don't,
So my
procedure.
second question goes with that, since you're not appointing those to the 27th, does that mean you have only partial committees in place until that date?
For March, they're basically reorganization meetings, as I recall. We only have a couple.
But you have some meetings coming up next
Well,
week.
right. There is a finance meeting next week for sure.
So how is that gonna work?
it would be the previous finance people. Like John, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if we could do that. I don't know if we could do that. I mean, I think that's a good question.
how do we want to go about this? Do we want to well, we can't bump them up. The cutoff is
I mean, the meeting is Monday, so we don't have time for community members to, I mean, we can invite folks to come, but, I don't know. I think we're gonna have to just get Michael.
Well, it's probably just informational,
It's gonna be informational,
so there's.
and those folks would make a recommendation to the full board. And obviously Lisa will have some more information about that as we go deeper into the meeting.
Okay. All right.
And by the way, for curriculum, Alice, Garrett, and Catherine, yes?
Correct.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on to policy. Who is interested in policy? Emily? Anyone else? Okay. Do we
Sure,
wanna-
why not? Why not?
Anyone else? Well, I guess we're gonna table that one as well.
And there is a policy meeting coming up. I want to share next week. It would just be
Gonna have to cancel it.
we might have to.
Michael, do you want to join us on policy again?
Not really, but I can. Yeah, I can,
You're ad hoc.
correct.
Yeah, well, it's been done before.
All right, so I will join policy then. Second, is there a motion?
Michael, Giuliano, Emily.
Correct. Catherine, motion?
I'll second.
You'll second?
Yep.
All those in favor, or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay,
And same dates for these meetings, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Central Vermont.
Negotiations.
Oh,
It kind of
I'm
blends in with
sorry, look at that, it does.
Does blend
Okay,
in.
who would like to be on negotiations? Terry?
I should
Anyone
point out, I
else?
don't know what sort of negotiations we'll have in the next year,
No,
That's okay.
but,
we'd start towards the end of the year.
but just FYI.
So I think it's only one person.
Oops.
No, it's three as well? Okay. Sonia, you want to be on negotiations?
Yes, please.
Anyone else? Emily? All right, a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Terry, Sonia,
All right.
Emily.
CVCCSD.
I would like to do that.
I think that would be a good fit. No, I'm not allowed to say that.
Oh, sorry. I shall agree
Sure.
with that.
Is there a motion for Alice?
So move.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right. Okay. One nay, motion passes. All right,
Mr. Chair, I have a suggestion.
yes,
Coming up, during the course of this year, the board is going to have to be concerned with the quality standards, school board quality standards that go into effect on the 1st of July, 2025. So maybe not tonight, but we need to keep in mind that we should really have sort of a short-term ad hoc committee to go through what those standards are, what the statute is, and how we can best meet those quality standards.
all right. Were you working on something
That's
like
on
that?
the agenda for the board retreat.
Okay. All right. Okay, district spokesman, superintendent and board chair. Do we need a motion for that? Okay. So next is authorized chair to sign employee contracts.
So move.
Well, do you have a question or do you?
No, that's fine. I have a question. I'll wait.
Okay, Sonia was the motion. And is there a second?
Second.
All right. I think I know where you're going and I think I'm gonna agree with you, but go for it.
So we did this last year. We added language to that with board approval.
I think that's is that something that we want to add to the motion? Okay, is that something that the motion and seconder want to add?
That's fine.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so that has been added. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Right. Approved business manager, assistant business manager, superintendent assigned accounts payable and payroll warrants.
Open this one. I'll go more about that.
And authorized chair to approve. What am I missing?
Other
Sign other
contracts.
contracts.
Oh, yes, okay.
I'll make a motion for that, but also with the added language of board approval.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right. And keep me on my toes, folks. All right. Approved business manager, assistant business manager, superintendent to sign accounts payable, payroll warrants.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, location for posting agendas and agenda and minutes. each school building, offices of town and city clerks, front porch forum, BUUSD website, central office, building, Facebook pages. Are any other questions? Are we not doing Times Argus or? Yeah. Okay. Didn't see it in there, so. All right. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right.
Forgive me, Michael, we don't post the minutes in the Times Argus. I thought you meant it's in our paper. It is, but we don't post the
Oh,
agenda
yeah,
minutes. So
okay.
just so you know, that's
Yeah,
why it's
that's
not on. I misunderstood.
All right. Agreement on Robert's Rules of Order. Is there a motion for that?
So
Okay. A second?
Second.
All right. Discussion? All those, yes.
I would like to consider, the, small boards, Robert's Rule for small boards.
All right, Sonia?
I would like to not consider small boards because you have to come to consensus and I'd like to go home at some point from meetings, so.
Fair enough. Withdrawn. Not withdrawn, just,
That's very good. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Discuss code of ethics, do we want to add these three together or? Okay, we'll discuss code of ethics. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in, discussion? Sonia?
What are we discussing? Whether we're signing it or not signing it? I'm confused.
As a mine. I didn't sign it last year and I won't sign it this year.
So what's the discussion? What are we voting on? I'm confused about what we're voting on. To adopt them? Because not everyone's adopting them. Not everyone's willing to sign them.
Correct. What do we want to do first?
So can someone tell me what the motion is?
I assume the motion is to approve the code of ethics that's listed in the packet.
Right.
I mean, I don't have a problem approving it, but I'm not signing it.
So
Go for it, Sonia.
as a point of reference, I think the code of ethics is not for us to adopt as a board. It's for us to adopt individually.
Yeah, it's written in the first person, Michael.
Mhm.
I read conduct myself in accordance with the following commitments. I will.
Yeah.
It's individual.
Yeah, so we can submit it to each individual and that's what we're submitting. I'd say that. Go for it. And we just what we did last year with this one is we pushed it off to the retreat and never talked to it about it.
well, no, I think we just talked about it. I think you just explained that it's there and you
Okay.
you choose to sign it. These are all discussion. Yes, we discussed it. No, we didn't discuss it. So I
Okay.
think we just talk
So
about it
in
and then
that case,
check off the boxes.
would you like to withdraw your motion? We discussed it.
Yes, it's fine. If we
Okay.
discuss it, that's fine. Everybody understands it's a discussion item.
And
Hopefully
we're
everybody will uphold the
discussing
code of ethics.
the executive session. Does anybody have any questions about that? How they work? Nothing? Moving on. Discuss open meeting law. Any questions about that? All right. Identify communication practices. Say it's going to be the same as last year. Discuss board development opportunities. I think we all understand there's lots of classes available. Nancy?
What is the communication statement? What's that about?
Might have to do with some of the board practice around communication with the community and some of our board procedures.
Michael Bolton, can you tell me what the communication statement is for?
It's my understanding communication will go like it did last year.
Which is how?
I can't remember everything, Nancy. It's a problem that I have. I have epilepsy and it affects my memory, and I appreciate that.
Well, is it communication from the board? Is it, I mean,
It's, well, Nancy, it's in the packet.
Correct.
I'm asking Michael Bolton, please, Giuliano.
Well, it's in the packet, Nancy.
Okay,
So if we really have to.
so we really don't know.
Mr. Chair, can I help you out?
Sure.
Basically, we designated a chief communication officer. And so that's the line of communication that things would come from to go out to the public, the press, whatever that might be. And that would be the way that we're discussing now, that we're going to stick with that and go forward from there with our chief spokesman.
Sonia?
Thank you. So in the packet, there's a slide from the Vermont School Boards Association that says communications, and I'll read it for those of you who don't have access to the packet. It says designate official media for publishing meetings of the electorate, which we've done. Engage and inform the community, respond to inquiries to the press and other interested parties, which we just identified a chief spokesperson, and share successes, students, staff, and schools, and then select chief spokesperson, which we have done. So I assume we've pretty much covered communications.
All right, so discuss board development.
Just for a little more clarity, there has to be a spokesman, especially for the board, and that's usually the superintendent and the chairman.
All right, I think that was up here. District spokesman. So spokesperson, sorry. Yeah. Discuss board development. We got the SBA. Yes.
I went to the BSBA conference last year. It was really informative. I learned a lot, and I would definitely encourage everyone to go again this year, especially new board members. It was a great opportunity.
All right, Sonia?
In conjunction with what Emily was saying, I think that the other thing is the VSBA sends out emails and has webinars. They're like lunchtime webinars. And if you're not able to attend at lunch, if you sign up, you'll get a copy of the recording. So even if you can't attend in person, you can get a copy of the recording, and it's some really good information. So I would encourage everyone to attend as many of those as they can.
I also attended it and it was well worth it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just one that we might also at times consider that there are other opportunities. There's the New England School Development Association. They're out of Massachusetts, but there are schools in Vermont who are not only members but partake of their opportunities as well. And to just balance things off, that it might be between the two agencies a good thing to have those opportunities for everyone.
Discuss local and statewide education advocacy responsibilities. I think. Right. Designate newspaper of record, which is Times Argus. Do we need a motion for this? I feel like it is what it is. Board packet format, that's going to be electronic and paper, depending on what you want. If you want it in paper, please email the superintendent or email.
We will always have at least a few copies of the packets for the board meetings or the committees, but if you want extras, just inquire. We'll make sure we have extras copies.
All right. And appoint the negotiations committee chair as the SU and BUUSD's voting delegate for statewide healthcare bargaining.
So moved.
It's once determined.
All right, so Sonia makes the motion. Did you second that?
I didn't, but I can.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Now let's go back there. Let's do the pledge and mindfulness moment. Right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And mindfulness moment. Additions and or deletions to the agenda. And approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Discussion first, please.
Oh, discussion, sorry.
Um,
Yes.
I was gonna mention we're missing a set of minutes, but we don't have it, so we can't do it. So I'll save that for future agenda items. But I wanted to ask about we had two executive sessions. And what are they for?
One is a personnel update, for some, issues we want to make the board aware of at the high school. And the other is administrative contract.
One of the citations is listed as discipline. It's not discipline. 313A.
Yeah,
discipline.
I think that's an error. So I could just look it up and tell you what the correct one is.
All right, but that's why it's supposed to have more than just a cite, right? F4 is the disciplinary dismissal action.
Yep, it is not that.
So we should probably change that. So both are A1A, is that correct? Okay, and is that what the motion is to change that?
Yep.
Okay, everybody, all right. Any other discussion, huh?
Yep.
Oh, any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have a question about 7.3, the question of consolidation. That seems to be a large discussion. Should we save that for another meeting?
I'll let Sonia answer that, and then Nancy, you had a question. Sonia?
Okay, thanks. So I have asked for this item to be on the agenda because I think it goes hand in hand with 7.2 and is something that we need to start discussing. And that's why I think it's important to start now because we're going to keep kicking it down the road if we don't.
And this is not an action, even though, because it's not warned as an action.
There's an action memo with a motion.
But it doesn't have action on it.
We can still vote on it without action on it.
Obviously, you guys know I love hearing about this, so, but it's up to what the board wants to do. Harry?
I would agree with Sonia. If you read the action memo,
Yeah.
it says that to make a decision on starting a study. I think that's way too premature to make a decision on this. I would agree with Alice that this is clearly a topic that deserves a lot of discussion and a thorough and thoughtful discussion. So I think we should be more prepared. Discussing it when we're going to discuss the budget, I think would be not doing it justice.
Okay. Nancy, I do apologize. In the future, if you could just leave your hand up for me, I would greatly appreciate that.
Is it okay?
You can go now.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple changes. Just for what the conversation's happening now with Sonia on the action memo and the fact that it doesn't say action, I would like to add that item to be a discussion of this action memo. It needs further discussion. Not the one that Sonia, just your action memo in general. The other thing is the 7.2, the budget should be changed to just a discussion and not action. We haven't, as a board, come together to decide how we want to proceed with this this budget, excuse me. We need to figure out, the goals, the percentages, what are we looking at? We need to look at items on how we're going to address this and hopefully come to a collaboration that we get something that the voters are going to approve. So it's going to be very important that we focus on a huge discussion on this budget. 7.3, consolidation of school, restructuring of schools, I'm going to call it, is way too soon. We need to focus on a budget. We need to get this passed. My thoughts are the entire board needs to engage in a comprehensive discussion on this matter, because I'll tell you, you've got 3 new board members that just joined and don't have probably an inkling of what all the details that they're going to need to know to make an informed decision. And I think we need to, as a board, need to discuss all of this. We need to talk about the goals. We need to address challenges. Are we just planning on restructuring schools and not looking at what's working or not working just to restructure schools? And I think we really need to make sure that when we put this out to the community, that they understand that they're going to lose their voice. So I think we got a lot of homework to do besides just putting an action memo in to get voted, that we do a feasibility study for we've done our homework and how it's going to benefit the students and this community. Thank you.
Any additional comments? In that case, if there is a motion to remove those 2 items, this would be the time.
I make a motion. I make a motion to remove 7.3 and change 7.2 to a discussion and add the action memo in detail.
Okay, so you're putting those 3 together?
Second.
Separately.
Oh. So you're making a motion and then you need to do one at a time. So.
Okay, I'll do one at a time.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we add the action memo that has been introduced to the board. We need further clarification for discussion. Yes.
Okay.
I'm asking for the second.
Yep. So one of the things to get things on agenda, you have to have an action memo for it.
Well, that needs to be discussed.
Just pointing that out. Sonia?
Can we back up for a second? The motion on the floor right now is to add an action memo discussion.
Correct.
And has that been seconded?
Has it? No. Well, yeah. He seconded all 3 of them. Anybody want to second Nancy's motion? Okay, it's been seconded. Discussion. We're gonna vote it now. Discussion. Sonia?
I'm not sure why we have to discuss something that the board decided at our last meeting.
I'm okay with somebody making a motion to put it on. It's outside of, because we said that we wanted action memos to get something on the agenda. So I'm just gonna call the question on that, and all those in favor say aye.
Are you calling this question?
Or, well, I mean, Nancy's now asking an additional question. Nancy?
Yeah, I would like to have clarification, not just to discuss the action memo, but to discuss it because we've already ran into an issue because Sonia, and I see in the board packet, a few others have put in action memos. Action memos means action. So I'm confused. Do we just add subjects without action? And to me, when you add an action memo is after you've done all of your due diligence and then you summarize it with costs, the reasons why, how you're going to improve. And then you
Yeah.
do the action to
So
bring it.
Nancy, if you want to put it on there as a discussion about action memos, you've done that. It's been
Okay.
seconded. And at this point, no other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So I got 2 ayes. Okay, nay? Is there nays?
Nay.
Okay.
Okay, so
And because
that's,
of my unfamiliarity with action memos as a coming back on the board here, I'm going to abstain.
okay. So Alice abstains. All right. The next one, Nancy, to remove consolidation of schools, you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I think we should do it for another meeting. So when we have, and the new board members have had time to acclimate, and that we can do our homework and figure out exactly how we want to move, if we want to move ahead with this.
Yeah. Are you going to make a motion on that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to remove 7.3.
Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Okay, and any other discussion?
I would like to, as part of the discussion, look to a date certain when we would have that.
I think that would probably be best at future agenda items if
Okay,
this fails.
okay.
Sonia?
I think that it's telling that the people who don't want it on the agenda probably just don't want to talk about it. So I just want that to be on the record, please. Thank you.
All right, and Sarah, you did have your hand up.
You never announced the whether the last motion passed or didn't because it was split.
Yeah, it failed. Thank you. Nancy?
Yes, I would like to state that just because I don't want it on the agenda doesn't mean that I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
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 All right, so I have 2 ayes and it,
I'm gonna abstain because
You're gonna
yeah,
abstain?
this one, I just don't have, being new,
right,
consolidation
Thank
is
you.
something that I'm not up to speed on, so
Okay.
I don't feel confident voting.
all right, so we have 3 nays, 4 yeses, and 1 abstention. Motion fails, right? Yes, motion fails. All right. Your other one, Nancy?
Mr. Chair, before you move on, what is it that you all should be discussing on that tonight?
Exactly what it says and what's in the action memo.
So what's in the action memo for those of us who didn't see it?
Yep, the action, well, we can talk about it at that time. And Sonia can present it then. Nancy?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to change 7.2 to a discussion. The failed budget.
All right. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. Discussion?
May I just raise a point?
Sure.
And Lisa, you're welcome to jump in here. We are really going to be looking to get at least guidance on a number that we need to go forward with. We've got to get information, all districts that have experienced failed budgets, trying to get numbers to the state so they can start calculating the yield going forward. So I believe we need to get that in by Friday, if we can, just a basic number. And that will give the administrators something to work with further if we can present to the finance committee on Monday. So we're hoping that's why the action item is in there. We can get some direction from the board this evening.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor, Sarah?
I'm sorry. It's really difficult for those of us online to really follow what's going on because
It's
there's
okay.
split. You said there were 4 yays and 3 nays and an abstention, and yet it fails. So I'm very confused.
No, understandable. Technically, according to Vermont state law, I think I'm supposed to poll when somebody is virtual. So we'll start doing that from this point. And the motion on the floor
Could
is
you also
to-
restate the motion before you vote on it?
Yep, I was just gonna do that. The motion on the floor is to change the failed budget overview from action to discussion. Discussion is over, so we're gonna do a roll call. Alice,
Yes. Yes.
Catherine, and then Emily,
Nay.
Giuliano,
Nay.
Sonia,
Nay.
Nancy,
Yes.
Garrett,
Nay.
Terry.
Aye.
All right, well, so I think you could probably get an idea where you should be without an actual motion, just based on the discussion. So I will say yay. All right, moving on to the rest of the agenda.
Nope.
Huh?
That was all
Okay.
motions to amend. We still need to approve the agenda, which
Right.
we have a motion.
Which
So
is
I will
why.
change my motion to whatever that was.
All right, so that was to pretty much keep it the same, except for the failed budget overview goes to discussion. And of course, the change of 3A, 1A versus 313A4. All right? Yes.
Just a question.
Sure.
Just unclear about the action memo item that Nancy brought up. Is that both on the agenda or?
It is not.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Discussion over. All those in favor say aye.
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 I have to go roll call. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Alice, Catherine, Emily,
Aye.
Giuliano,
Aye.
Sonia,
Aye.
Nancy.
What are we voting on?
We're voting on the amended agenda.
And the amended agenda is as,
It was as voted. It's the only thing that's changing is the failed budget overview, changing it to a discussion and changing personnel from 313A4. Changing
To A1A. They both should be there.
Nancy?
and we're keeping consolidation of schools.
Correct.
Okay, I say nay.
Okay, Garrett,
Yay.
Terry? All right, motion passes. All right, comments for items not on the agenda. Public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to the board?
Yes,
All right, and can you please state your name?
Jeff Police.
Okay,
Is it all right if I remain seated?
absolutely.
I've been teaching English for 32 years, both in Los Angeles and overseas. I have a master's degree in English from Cal State Los Angeles. I've helped mentor dozens of teachers in classroom and workflow management. For many years, my students' scores on standardized tests were some of the highest in that district. By any objective standard, I'm a very good teacher. When I moved to Barrie in August, I looked forward to subbing. The money wasn't an issue. But I had heard that test scores were down and remediation and test prep is one of my strengths. I look forward to helping my new town, to helping kids graduate and succeed in life. I look forward to subbing at this school, the school my own wife attended. On February 2nd, I spent a day subbing here. For the most part, things went great. I met some nice teachers and kids. I ate my lunch in this library. I enjoyed being back where I belonged, in a classroom. I followed each teacher's directions exactly as they had written them for me. During the last period of the day, a few kids tried to misbehave. One boy tried to steal the regular teacher's mug and make tea for himself using her electric kettle. The regular teacher left very comprehensive notes, none of which involved kids using her food and drink. I quietly redirected the boy to get the assigned work started. A girl in the class wanted to talk to everyone about the coming weekend, gossip about other students, anything but doing the work. I was helping a newly arrived English learner to understand the assigned work, and I gently asked the talkative girl to please start the assignment. She left the room and didn't return until the end of the school day to get her phone. At no time did I raise my voice, act aggressively towards a student, or take any such action. On Monday, I received an email from the sub-coordinator saying that there were allegations that I had yelled at students, had tried to intimidate them by getting too close, and had followed students to their next classes. I was frankly shocked. The email ended by stating that I was suspended from subbing at Spalding. I replied, how would I follow someone to a next class at the end of the school day? If I had yelled, wouldn't neighboring teachers have come to see what was happening? And I was very careful to keep my distance from all students because I was a new face and I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. The sub-coordinator said that the school, quote, usually doesn't investigate student allegations any further, unquote. I asked him to talk to the foreign-born student I had helped, giving him her name and asking him to please talk to her. I closed by swearing to him on the lives of my 3 children that none of what he had been told had happened. The next day, I was informed that I'd been blacklisted from teaching in the entire Barrie School District. I'm a professional. I take great pride in the reputation for integrity, hard work, and kindness that I've built over decades of teaching. A colleague once said about me, it's like Jeff was born to do this. I think I was, and now I will probably never teach again. I wonder how many other teachers were canceled this way. Kids didn't like being told what to do and found a way to erase the teacher. I want a chance to defend my reputation, but most of the lawyers I've talked to say it's a waste of time. I don't care. I'm still looking at options, but not just to feel a sense of closure. If I were a mechanic or a butcher, I'd have some legal ground to stand on to fight this. Discussions are continuing. I will continue to look at options because after the extreme step of erasing me from the district, what do I have to lose? What else can be taken? I want it on the record that at least in Barrie, teachers in this situation have no defense against false claims like these, that it only takes a few unquestioned student voices to try to derail a career. I want other teachers who dealt with this to know that they're not alone. I want teachers coming here to know what they're facing. Barrie has lost a teacher who wanted to help this town, the town my wife loves so much. I plan to give my days and nights to helping the students in this community. Now all of that is gone. I look forward to making friends in the community at the school, attending events, and contributing my energy. That's not going to happen now. It's Barrie's loss. When you say you're worried about teacher retention, remember that it's not the money or the extra hours at night or the demands. To stay focused on lessons that no teachers had a hand in creating. It's the lack of respect that's going to drive teachers out and keep bright young people out of this career. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other comments to the board? Prudence?
Hi, I might have missed this in the beginning, but did anybody welcome the new board members to the community in person and online? I didn't hear it if so. Or to give them an opportunity to just introduce themselves. I know they're new to this. It seems like a lot is going on, so just a welcome would be probably appreciated.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I certainly want to welcome all the new board members. I know this is outside of the rules, but I think it's not a bad thing. So welcome aboard to all of you. I did welcome Alice back.
Two
But
returnees.
Yeah.
Two,
yeah. Well,
two newbies especially, I think
Yes.
deserve a warm welcome for sure.
Yes.
Garrett and Catherine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you. All right. Any other public comment? Yes, sir. And state your name for the record.
Yeah, sure. I have a prepared statement just so I can stay within the time limit. My name is Dan Morrison. I'm a taxpayer and have 2 children in the Berrytown school. I'm a career educator with extensive experience in budgeting, curriculum development, and hiring. I speak tonight to implore a new board to recognize words and actions matter moving forward. The messages from this board, directly and indirectly from the media, will help shape candidates' opinions in applying and ultimately joining our system. As a reminder, the demand for educators is at an all-time high and supply at an all-time low. By being positive, listening to each other, and focusing on our children will be better than if we do the opposite. I look forward to seeing this board work together to maintain civility. I asked those on the board who publicly stated that we needed leadership change to articulate a plan for filling our vacant leadership roles like superintendent and director of special services. We're already late in the hiring season, and I asked those on the board who advocated for voting no on the school budget to share what cost reductions they're willing to put forward and what positive impacts will be for our children's education. I am listening and ready to understand, because as an experienced educator, I don't see how you will make this happen. Finally, I appeal to board members to avoid saying we're failing based on test scores. We have students who, based on life circumstances, disabilities, etc., can't achieve proficiency but are making progress. Instead, we should focus on student growth percentile. Essentially, is a percentile ranking from 1 to 99, which explains students' academic progress compared to their peers. We should ask if a student is making progress, what's working, and if not, what's the plan to help. Punishing our schools in a budget, but by eliminating support positions for educators or students, is unfathomable when students have positive academic growth. Parents and educators supporting our children daily to help students grow are insulted when charged with leading our schools, our board members, to make statements like our test scores are failing. I ask you to join me in rephrasing this as how can we help our students make growth with our upcoming budget decision. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? All right, moving on, student voice. Golly, right there in front of my face. Nothing? Okay. All right. Consent agenda. We've got the regular meeting minutes, February 14th, 2024 approval. Warrant approval, February 14th, 2024, February 22nd, 2024. February 28th, 2024, and March 7th, 2024.
We usually do those separately, minutes and warrants.
Okay, we can do that. I just think that we could do approval of consent agenda, but it's whatever folks want, so we can do regular minutes at first, or anybody have a motion what they want to do?
Make a motion to approve the regular minutes of February 14th, 2024.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Alice?
Abstain because I
Okay.
wasn't at that meeting.
Catherine?
I also.
Okay, Emily?
Aye.
Giuliano?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Sonia?
Aye.
Garrett?
And abstain.
Terry?
Aye.
Motion passes. Warrant approval? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved for all 4 warrants.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? All right, Alice?
I read them, vote yes.
Yes. I'm already voting. Catherine?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, Emily?
Aye.
Giuliano?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Sonia?
Aye.
Garrett?
Aye.
Terry? Motion passes. All right, current business, new hires, the action memos are in there, and so aren't the application, the resumes and everything.
Resumes. So we have two candidates to bring forward for the board's approval tonight. The first is Anna Montoya, a longtime Spanish and English language learner teacher who spent a good chunk of her career in Florida. However, she does have Vermont connections and done some work at Middlebury College. Is very much looking forward to joining our team, moving up from Florida with her family this summer. We also have a gentleman returning to us named David Baird. David is returning to the region from Syracuse after moving there with his fiancée to Associate Finnish grad school. David was a very highly regarded long-term substitute here at Spalding High School, and we are very, very happy to have him join our team as a social studies teacher. So these two qualified candidates will be joining our Spalding team for the 24-25 school year.
Right, Sonia?
Are we also approving the new hire that was sent to us late this afternoon, or is that not being included?
I don't think people had time to look at her. Sonia, Tina's gonna, well, I don't know. Did people have a chance to look at that?
I didn't get it.
Okay, so this is a position, a part-time intervention position for Barry City for the remainder of the school year. I think if folks can take a look at that, Tina sent it to you later this afternoon. We can get her going. Pretty straightforward.
We'll do that next.
Yeah, could you share it, Brooke?
I'm fine with that, if that's what you want to do, let's.
I have to pull it up. May I make just a suggestion that
just
this
push
can be
it off.
done over email when you guys get a chance to look it over? Is that okay? And then we can get her on board with her background checks and all that stuff.
All right, so
Might be easier than just
the
going through all this.
motion for that would be to approve the two, with the third being conditional that there's no questions via email.
Exactly.
Is that somebody gonna make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right, discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor say, oh, you have a discussion? No, okay. Alice,
We're just voting on the email question for the late application.
we are saying that we're conditionally approving, subject to anybody emailing, asking questions.
Okay, now that does not include
Not the
these
ones
two.
in the.
Okay, I vote
No.
yes then.
Okay, Catherine?
Yeah.
Emily?
Aye.
Giuliano?
Aye.
Sonia?
Aye.
Nancy?
Who are we approving?
Mr. Baird?
Miss
No.
Montoya,
And we're also approving the one.
Anna Montoya, Spanish.
And I have a question about the, just very quickly. It says she has a provision, is that provisional?
So we've already passed the discussion.
Yes, but it was so mixed up, Michael.
I know, it is.
They will
What's
both
going
have their
on?
licenses ready when they start.
Okay, that was my question. Will she be licensed when she starts? Okay.
Can we do? Yeah, so is it David Baird? Montana,
Here.
yeah,
Yeah.
Montoya. So those two, we've had plenty of time to look at and we're approving them. Is that what's happening?
Correct. With the conditional approval of the third, subject to any emails.
So we don't want to do that one separately and just get these other two
The
through?
motion has already been made, so it's
Can
just
we-
a yay or nay.
Can we make an amendment?
Nope, it's too late for that. Yay or nay?
I'm gonna say nay.
Okay. Gary?
Thank you.
Yay.
You're welcome. Carrie? All right, so motion passes. If you have any questions, send them to Chris. All right, let's see here. 7.2, failed budget overview discussion. So I'm gonna let Lisa and Chris take it from here.
Lisa, do you want to come up and join us here, or what works for you?
Thanks to Michael.
I don't know.
Hi. Welcome, Garrett and Catherine. Welcome back, Alice. Hello. And Julian. So has everybody had a chance to look at the timeline that we shared? Budget development revote. So we have actually had several meetings, the administration, and we are hoping, because the Agency of Education, so Nicole Lee, who has taken Brad James' place. So Brad James has been at the Agency of Education for 25 years. He has retired, and Nicole Lee has taken his place. So you'll hear me talk a lot about Nicole because she is the finance director. So there's a lot of collaboration between business managers across the state of Vermont and that department. So she is hoping to have a revised number from Barry very soon. So tonight, Chris and I are hoping that we can walk away from this meeting with a percentage or a dollar amount, cut $800,000, bring the budget to a 9% increase. We're looking for direction, because then we'll go back to the drawing board with our administrators, prioritize the reductions that we've already discussed, and bring that to the finance committee on Monday. So we already have a meeting Friday to
Will you be
work
able
on
to share a
this.
proposal with the board by Friday? I would add, Lisa, that the administration has been meeting, looking at categories from administration, through all the departments in the central office to the buildings themselves, and looking at numbers about how to get there. And it really depends on, we need guidance from the board on where we want to go from this. And remember, when we bring it to the finance committee on Monday, they will presumably make a recommendation to the full board. So just want to make sure there is a bit of urgency. If you look at the timetable, I mean, urgency in terms of some new information you got about really needing to let the state know,
Right.
as soon as we possibly can, because that will have an impact on the all important yield, which will have an impact on people's tax bills.
So I think what might be good is whether or not we just go around and just get a percentage of folks where they stand and how they would like to see it. But Sonia?
Thanks, Michael. I have a question for Lisa and Chris. If we move forward with the revote in May, when do we have to send contracts out to teachers, and are we considering RIF notices?
So the deadline per the CBA is April 1st, which is a Monday. But I should note that we're going to need to be able to talk, if we are going to be considering riffing anyone, we need to talk to them well before that. So that's why these coming days are very, very important. So if we get a number where it's just unavoidable that we're going to have to cut significant numbers of positions, we obviously have to talk to people. We have to inform the BEA. We have to really get on that. It's a very human issue and dilemma. So, but April 1st is the absolute non-negotiable deadline if we're having to consider refs. This is a dilemma that every one of the 30 failed districts are facing right now in terms of timelines. Some of their dates are slightly different, but they're all coming up quickly.
So I'm just gonna go around and just see where people are for percentages. Is that okay with everyone? I know, it just gives you an idea of where the board is as a whole. In this way you can take that and move forward on that. Is that okay?
And I didn't know anybody had questions around like what a percentage means to this budget. So if we're looking at an original, the increase from last year on the expense budget is an 11.6% increase. To get the budget to an 11% increase, it's 307,000. To get the budget to a 10% increase, it's 803,000. And a 9% increase would be 1.3 million.
And Lisa, when we start talking about making cuts like that, what are we talking about cutting immediately? Like, what would that be?
Could I just add a question, a point first, that might help this discussion? I think that another question is, if what is the figure that we would have to get to based on what we know about the yield now, which can change, where it would actually start having an impact on people's taxes, the tax rate, where their taxes would go down because of the adjusted tax rate. That my understanding is we need to be getting close to $2.8 million to start moving that needle.
If you wanted to keep your taxes status quo.
Right. If you want to keep your taxes status quo.
In terms of the tax rate, so in the current year, FY24, the tax rate is, and this is before CLA, was $1.16. The budget as it stands now at the 11.6% increase, the tax rate is $1.17. So you are 1 cent higher with this current budget as it stands. The reason that the taxes, after the CLA, the adjusted tax rate is higher is because your CLA decreased. And the CLA is your common level of appraisal, which is simply means the values of your home are appraised higher. The value of your home is higher than what it's appraised at.
And this caused in Barry City, the tax rate to go up 9-point-something%, in Barrytown 11-point-something%. The state average is, I believe, just under 20%, whether budgets failed or passed. So that's where we're at now. But it's important to note that with that CLA at 76% in Barry City and I believe 85 in Barrytown, that's what impacted that $1.17 rate. It's also important to remember that with the Act 127, we had with a 3-cent discount because we originally were at $1.21, if I'm correct. So it helped a little bit, but we should have helped more.
All right, I'm gonna go around.
Paul has a question behind you.
No, Paul, I just want to be clear on a few things. We can talk about CLAs, we can talk about all the other formalized stuff. You've had the CLA in place for years. Last year, the CLA also dropped. It dropped in both communities. Right now, just 3 years ago, Barrytown did a reappraisal, and we went from 113% and then went down to about 86% now. So it's dropped a lot in both communities, and we're not alone. It's that way around the state. There's a couple of concerns I have here. One is the voters had approved $700,000 to be used for tax stabilization. They also approved about almost $300,000 to go into the capital improvements fund itself. South Burlington, the day after they had a similar situation, they voted on similar questions, decided to use all those monies. That's about $1 million. Is it the intent of staff to use that $1 million to help reduce that from the surpluses that had just gotten approved to go into those funds? And the second thing is looking at where the tax rates are going, and I agree, the yield is quite suspect at this point, based upon those districts, big districts that had approved their budgets, like in Burlington, Colchester, and so forth. So if our yield goes down, then the tax consideration that the taxpayers are concerned with will obviously go up. So to say that we're talking about 1 cent and we want to disregard CLA and so forth, we can't play that kind of game. That's been every year until we go to a COD situation, which is coming next. So I think we have to be fair about that. And if you're going to talk about percentages, especially for the new board members, You know, you're asking them to go around and say, what would that percentage would be? Well, if the percentage helps you out, you can say, as a collective body, that, yeah, you want to get something down that helps reduce maybe the tax rate into single cent digits instead of 14 cents as it currently was and 13 cents as it is in the city. If that drops down into the 8 or 9 cents or anything even close to last year, that might be more plausible. But I also remind everybody here, there was an overwhelming defeat of a budget in one particular community, and it was close in the second community. That's not what you want to go back to and talk about a couple $100,000 or something like that, because that becomes an insult. And I don't want to see us have to go back and forth with votes all the time, one right after another. That's my P's and Q's.
Thank you. Can I just respond to the yield piece? So actually in the latest outlook, which is sort of a legislative numbers where they're at this point, they work with the Joint Fiscal Office, the Agency of Education. The yield is now at, in terms of the outlook, is now at 9,988. We were using a lower yield. So with the yield, the higher the yield, it pushes your taxes down. And the yield is actually going up, not down, because people have gone back to their budgets, reduced them, which pushes the yield up, and then pushes your tax
That's
rate
the
down.
urgency to get that number to the state ASAP.
So yes, actually today, Chris, was the date that they wanted the information. I got a email tonight asking, you know, where are you at? Because Barry is a very large district and it has a lot of impact. So I want to leave this meeting and be able to respond to the agency with something. Maybe we'll end up, you know, in the next couple of weeks having a slight change in what our overall ed spending is going to be, but at least if we can give them a number that's somewhat close, that would really be great. It would also help the administrators to come up with reductions. And while I know that the budget went down, I also think that it's important that our families, our parents, our community sees what we have to reduce to get to these numbers. So I think, especially when we know that our overall tax rate is probably going down. You know, the CLA we have no control over.
All right.
So
Emily?
just to clarify, Lisa, you're saying that the yield now is projected to be
Higher than the numbers that we've been
that we
using.
projected.
I haven't changed the yield in all of our examples just because it keeps, you know, fluctuating. So left it where it is, but in the last outlook dated 2/27, it was higher.
So that would already make our taxes lower.
It's already going to make your homestead tax rate lower than the 117, which was 1 penny less, more than last year.
Thank you.
All right, just gonna do it. What do you think, Alice? I know.
Yeah, I can only report on basically what individuals from the community have said to me. And there are some significant concerns within the budget that really annoy people. And those concerns are what appear to be exorbitant administrative central office salaries. In the case of that, you know, a $20,000 raise in 1 year is the people who are working an exorbitant raise. And the question of adding staff when they were covered by the COVID money, by the ESSER money. And when that ESSER money came into being, there was a promise made that those would be for the duration of the ESSER money. And if there was any reason for a way to keep those people on staff, it would be through attrition. And there are current openings on staff. Could those folks be attrited rather than hired outright? Those two things, 11 and a half hours standing in the rain, listening to people, really fills your head with a lot of information. And that was the recurring information with those areas. The other piece of information was a question that came up about in the $100,000 in the sports budget, and there didn't seem to be any justification for that. So people were asking why that was there. And I think that to satisfy the needs of the community and the desires of the community for information is to look at those lines and look at the overall budget. If there's any line that is exorbitantly over what it was last year, to ask the question why.
So I'm gonna encapsulate that if that's okay. It sounds like did you understand about what she's looking for? So it's just for clarity for everybody, just because we're asking for it doesn't mean that we're gonna approve it. We wanna see what it looks like. Okay, and just for clarity. I'm assuming that's correct. Is that
But I would
correct?
also say that information from the public is vital. To
No,
take that into
I
consideration
don't
and not
disagree
ignore
with that.
Mr.
I'm just
Chair.
saying that what I'm trying to, I'm just wanting to say that we are not committing to anything.
No.
What we're asking for is what we would like to see.
It's with the message that we received with that overwhelming popular vote against the budget. We really need to be judicious in what we're doing and meet the needs, not only of our students and our teachers, but also meet the needs of the community. And individuals, there was a businessman who shouted at us, saying that he cannot afford to pay his employees enough to cover their taxes. And so they are considering leaving and he's one of the largest employers in Berrytown. So we need to be cognizant of that. And I think that's very important as we go through this budget again. So rather than flatlining a percentage, let's look at the whole situation and see how we can bring it down.
What you got you need there. All right, Catherine? You have any,
Just a number?
if you want to give just a number, what you feel comfortable with? And it's not comfortable with, it's comfortable to see a budget. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So they can come, and then what will normally happen, which happens with budgeting, is then we look at it and say, well, we don't like that. And then we do like that, and then we move from there. That's what the normal process for budgeting is, at least that I've experienced.
Okay.
So we're just giving a number for you guys to come back with everything listed out, and then we have the discussion.
All right, 3%.
3%. All right. And Emily?
It sounds like the yield is going up, projected to go up. So our homestead property tax rates are going to decrease, even with the budget that did fail, even with those numbers. If we're talking about just kind of a number, I would say 11 to 10%.
Okay. And Juliana?
I just want to clarify, your 3%, is a 3% lower or is it a 3% increase? Like are you going from 11.6 to 10.6, 9.6, 8.6%, or is it just a 3% increase?
Yes,
Total.
3% decrease.
Okay.
Decrease.
Oh,
Okay.
decrease. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because if you're talking bananas and we're talking apples,
Yes.
it doesn't, I just want to get that for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
You already answered? And Nancy? Oh, wait, you didn't.
I didn't. I was asking a clarifying question.
I thought you said, no, that was Emily. Never mind. Go for it.
I similar to Emily, but I was going to narrow it down to 10.6%.
It's the magic number. All right, Nancy?
I think we need to take a look at the whole budget as a whole, before we come out with any percentages, and look at where we've got a lot of overages from the past 2 years. Any, and the programs, I had asked a couple times if there'd been a review of all of our programs and what's working, what isn't working, and was there any cost efficiencies there? But I still haven't got an answer on that. So I think, in my mind, instead of throwing a percentage, I think we need to look at the budget, look at the surplus, and then come up with a percentage that we all as a board feel comfortable about putting out to this community so we can all get behind it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Sonia?
Thank you. I would like to, I understand that there's concerns. I understand the budget was voted down. But I also think that we shouldn't try to, arbitrarily find a number that the voters can agree with or find more palatable because the CLA is driving the tax rate up. And I understand the CLA has always been a part of the education funding formula with Act 60, but the reality is that the lion's share of why our taxes were going up as much as they were was because of the CLA. And so I would honestly love to see this budget just go back out, because you could send this budget back out and the rate is going to be lower. So that would be my preference. But if you're going to push me to do any kind of decrease, I will go with 11%.
Yeah, and I wasn't asking for whether or not you wanted a decrease. It was just what you feel comfortable for a percentage.
I don't feel comfortable with anything because I think this budget is is only 1 cent increase, which means we're really probably not even giving our kids what they need right now, and we're barely getting by. So honestly, I wish it was more.
Okay. Garrett?
Well, I'll start by saying that, working in the Aldrich Public Library, I've experienced when you have a top-down directive to cut. And it's, on the human level, it's very difficult what happens with students and the work that we can do. So, yeah, it's really difficult for me to throw out a number without seeing exactly how that's going to impact our students and our teachers. If you need a number, I would say 1% decrease.
Okay. And Terry?
So I don't know if anybody else is watching the other communities that failed their budgets, because a lot of them are ahead of us and they've already done their reductions. Most recently, Caledonia District, and they cut $500,000 in their community, still going wild up there, and said it's not enough. You're not listening to us. We have told you it's unaffordable, and 500,000 doesn't do it. Our community, 2 to 1, said no, this is way too much. We're pushing large surpluses every year. We're spending a lot of discretionary money at the end of the year. We have plenty of money. We are not in a bad place. Prior to the previous budget, I said 6.5%, 4.5% of new money, and use the $1 million from the previous year's surplus to give us an additional 2. So 4.5% of new money, $2 million of our surplus, 6.5%.
Okay.
6.5.
All right. So I don't know if I'm supposed to give. I just want folks to know that this is for them to just prepare the budget with these changes that you're going to average out, so that we can take a look at it and then work from
Some
there.
scenario.
Correct. Some scenarios, and I think that's a valid request.
Can I ask
So,
a question?
yes.
Do you feel like that is information? Do you get enough information from us as directive?
Thank you. No motion. That's good. All right. So you feel comfortable?
And we'll be able
All
to
right.
share for Monday evening to, we'll have to send this to the finance, we'll send it to the whole board.
Yeah.
Yes. What our proposal looks like based on what we're hearing this evening. So this will be by Friday. I know it's a short turnover, but as Terry said, a lot of communities are just boom, 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 hitting on this. It's got to move fairly quickly.
And I think options are always good to have, so not just one set, you know, maybe slow.
Question on that?
Oh, whoops.
No, it's not Dan.
Dan, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just curious if I, as a taxpayer, if the range is 6 to Sunday 11, how I might acquire the same information to attend the finance committee, or will it be posted on the Facebook pages or on the website? That's a wide range.
Yeah, it'll be posted on the website.
We'll set it out as a finance agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It'll be in a packet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Well, in that case, no other discussion. I think we'll say thank you. And
Thank you,
we'll
Lisa.
move on to the next item, and I will turn this over to Sonia since I'm the chair and I'm not supposed to advocate for this. Although I could step down for a time being and let Juliana chair, but
Are we suspending the rules already?
no. That was last night for Carol. Sonia?
Thanks, Michael. So the action item in your packet indicates that I am interested in discussing and approving a feasibility study to be able to find out what it would look like to do a consolidation of schools. I would remind you that prices are going up, they're not coming back down, and we need to start considering how we're going to continue to address the increase in prices and the increased needs of our students. We also need to think about how we're going to address lots of people have indicated that we need to be concerned about the academic success of our students, and this is one way to make sure our students are more successful if we have more of a team with an elementary school and a middle school. I would also ask anecdotally to have you note that the governor talked about consolidation of schools when he talked about how the many budgets had failed. So I think it is completely within our duty to start considering this. And I think a consolidation study will allow us to be able to see what we can do, what things we need to think about, what parts have we not even considered, and what it would take to be able to consolidate an elementary school and a middle school in our district.
And I do want to clarify your action memo. It does say to get bids for. It's not approving any type of contract. Is that correct? Is that?
Well, the only reason I said a bid was because I wasn't sure how much a feasibility study would cost. And so I just put that in as, soliciting bids, because if it's over the amount that we're allowed, that's why I put that in that way.
Yep. And I was just clarifying that for the board, that it would be to get bids, not necessarily act on them. Any discussion? Nancy?
Yes, I would like to point out, Sonia, you said something about price increasing, and that is kind of like a red flag. I mean, we can't even get a budget passed right now because people are worried about all of the increases. And so now we're talking about more increases. So I think that's not a good selling point personally. We don't know by restructuring these two schools if the education is going to improve with the students or not. We haven't sat down and had clear understanding of what our objectives are and what we aim to achieve through this, what these changes are. I think as a board, not just one board member or two board members, but the board as a whole should have a thorough discussion about this and decide if this is the route and how we're going to do this. To me, the feasibility study is the last step before you reach out and have somebody come in, because we got to figure out, are our programs, I'm going to say this again, are our programs working? Is there enhancements that we can make there, adjustments? Are we addressing the existing challenges, or are we just going to move them to the restructuring? I think this is a great discussion. I'm not for it. I'm not against it. But I want to, if we're going to do this, this is our community, our students, and we're talking about more money for a community that just failed the budget. I just think it's imperative that we sit down as a whole board, all of us, and discuss the clear goals and any potential restructuring initiative. Thank you.
So do I get to respond to that or no?
I mean, let's just go around. We'll let Alice, do you want to?
Yeah, I think I read this and I reread it and I went over it quite thoroughly. I think basically what this is requesting is to have administration prepare a request for proposals, an RFP.
Correct.
That's basically what it is. An RFP is harmless because you're not committing to anything, you're not committing, but it gives you an idea of how much it is going to cost to have someone conduct a feasibility study. And from that, there are very specific ways that these have to be done. And the model for that most recently is the way the Career Center went through their study to figure out what they needed, not only for current space and programs, but also for future space and programs. So there was a very definitive model there that we could follow, and that would be delineated in the RFP. So, and I also just note that consolidation scares the living daylights out of people. We already went through a consolidation already where the State Board of Education put their hand up and said, thou shalt. And that was somewhat of a bitter pill for people in the communities. But so I think if we're looking at this as a request for an RFP, that they're assure people that there is no commitment, that it's only for cost availability, then I would be in favor of that. But anything more than that, I would not entertain it.
Well, I'm quite new to all of this, so this coming on as my first board meeting is an interesting topic. One that I don't really know too much about. I do know that when I ran for the same reasons Alice did. I was hearing from the community that they're hurting financially, and to put something forward that's going to need more money and more time. I'm not opposed to the idea of looking at it. I think it's a good option to explore, but I think we have other things that are more pressing at this moment. I also feel like the same thing that Nancy was saying, like, well, what are we doing right now that's working? And what can we do to encourage that to happen more? What are we doing that's not working? I'd like to know more information before making a decision. I'd like to be able to discuss more with the other board members, get more of a background on this, because this was put on and it's just my first meeting. So that's all I've got.
All right. Emily?
I am in favor of discussing this further, understanding what a bid process would look like, understanding what a proposal would look like to have a feasibility study done. I think that there's a potential for us to access more federal grant money if we are restructured, and I'd like to fully understand that. I am thinking about universal preschool, which is going to happen very soon. We have a large number, a growing class of preschoolers. We're going to have to really understand where we're going to put all of those bodies. And I'm interested in continuing this discussion, and I think it's very important to go through the right steps and collect the data first and move from there. It's going to take a lot of communication with our community. It's going to be a heavy lift. So I think it's a good step forward to understand the bid process and see what that would look like.
Okay. I'm actually going to go, before I go online, I'll go with Gary if you want to make a comment. Okay, Gary.
Great. So I echo what Catherine's saying, in that, this is a big topic for new board members. And for that reason, I'm really interested actually in this study because I want more information. So, yeah, I'd like to definitely know more about how much these bids would be.
Okay. Terry?
So this is a huge topic, and it's one that we've talked about for probably over a year. We've been talking about it currently. And I don't know if everyone read through all the minutes and things that are in the packets, but this is a huge discussion, and it is a discussion we have to have. I wholeheartedly agree. This is a discussion that we have to have. And while this is just talking about giving permission to put on an RFP and see what a feasibility study would cost, I think we haven't done the preliminary work that we need to do. We haven't had a conversation around the table with our building administrators. And maybe Chris has, but it hasn't been shared with the board. There's so much to this, and that when this first came up, and I think I may have been the first one to bring it up. When this first came up, I said, I think this is a 10-year plan. I don't think this is something, I think there's some board members that think this is going to happen like next year. No way. This is huge, right? This is very big. And not to mention, several weeks ago, as we listened to the presentation from the tech center, they're leaving, right? They've got a date now that says that they're leaving. That's going to be a humongous impact, not only to our district, but to our community, because right now we've got a tenant that pays for a quarter to a third of that part of the building. Well, guess who's going to pick up that expense once they go? Who? Us, right? So just them leaving, our expenses are going to get higher. Not only to mention that they're leaving, but now look at the square footage that we now have available to do something with. Any decision prior to that is premature, right? We cannot make a decision on what we're going to do in the footprints of our building until we understand the full impact operationally, from a facilities perspective, from a financial perspective of what that whole thing over there entails and impacts in our district. There's many components of this that could happen now, right? For example, consolidated purchasing. If anybody's ever spent any time reviewing our warrants, my goodness, we spend so much money all over the place. Anybody that's in business that has done a consolidation of vendors and a consolidation of spend absolutely knows the value and the savings that can be had. That's a big one that we should be doing today, and there's nothing that should stop that, right? So there are things that we can do today, but from a curriculum standpoint, from a facility standpoint, from a transportation standpoint, each one of those items individually is a huge lift. Each one individually is a huge lift. So yes, I support it, but I think internally we need to have a whole bunch more discussions with this group, quite frankly, before we engage a feasibility study. Because until we understand how the folks in the building feel, how the people in the community feel, we don't know what contractor to use, right? There's all kinds of different contractors out there, and that decision should be based on what that guidance is. So I agree with it, but I don't agree with moving it forward tonight. Not at all.
Sonia.
Thank you. So I do agree with Terry that it is a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot. That's the reason why I'm proposing the feasibility study. My hope would be that a consultant would be able to pull all of those moving parts together and tell us what it would look like for transportation, what it would look like for facilities, what it would look like for athletics, what it would look like for academics. I would hope that we could find a consultant that would be able to give us the information and answer the questions that we need. And to speak to Nancy's point about rising costs, I'm talking about rising costs like health insurance, which we have no control over. I'm talking about the rising cost of how much we're paying for salaries, and that's teacher salaries, paraeducator salaries. I'm talking about the rising cost of everything that we do not have control over, that we need to do something else about. And also to Terry's point, if you think about CVCC and we wait for them to leave, we're too late. We need to start this now. They're starting now. We need to start now to figure out how are we going to be able to absolutely optimize the use of that space.
All right. So Giuliano hasn't had an opportunity to discuss this action memo. Would you like to discuss whether or not you support an RFP going out? for consolidation, study, feasibility?
Yeah, the study is, I'm in favor for it. It's something that we're gonna end up doing anyway. We might as well start now.
Okay. Any final comments from anyone on the board? And then I'll go to the public.
Jamie and a good piece as a.
Nancy?
Yes, I would like to say that I think before we do that, we should take a good look internally at any cost efficiencies. And I think, to Terry's point, transportation, the business office, any of those things, we should look. And again, I'm going to reiterate the programs. Are our programs working? Where are we putting all our money into our programs? And then are we getting what we're supposed to be getting, like the intended outcomes? So I think we need to do our homework first and then have a feasibility study.
Okay. Staff?
Come on down.
Yep. I'm gonna keep them down.
Well, I was staying here. So I wonder, so doing a feasibility study, to put an RFP out, it's not gonna cost us any money to get an RFP to find out what a feasibility study is gonna cost. Feasibility study is gonna give us a lot of those answers, you know, from facility, from educational standpoint, transportation, you know, all of those numbers. For a lot of people that grew up in this community, let's remind ourselves back in the early 80s, there was discussion to close all the city schools. That started in the early 80s. I remember I was a student at that time, and it was part of the Baker School. We didn't build Berry City until the mid-90s, or move in the mid-90s. It took a lot of time to do that study. It took many, many failed votes to then close those city schools down. Why did they close those city schools down? For efficiency. Efficiency in education, efficiency in expenses, you know, bringing all those students together, you know, the sports, the learning, bringing all that education opportunities together by combining the centralized school. So, you know, you have that chance again to do that now, to combine all those resources and hopefully save that money. So again, going out for an RFP is not going to cost you any money. You know, maybe some advertising, but put an RFP out to find out how much is it going to cost for a feasibility study. Let's learn what that's going to cost. They'll then have that big discussion. Can we afford to do it now? Or can we not afford to do it now? Are we ever going to be able to afford it? No, probably not. So let's have those hard discussions. Is it going to cost us any money to find out what a feasibility is going to cost us? Where's the harm?
Okay. Lisa?
And I'll just add that I actually worked with Penny on the RFP, and I have it pulled up, and I think we could tweak it and send it out without a whole lot of effort.
Okay. All right. If any, oh, did I miss someone? Oh, yes, that was rude of me. I'm sorry.
I've been rude to before.
Your name?
Denise LaValle. And a couple of points of everything that was said. Doesn't cost to submit an RFP except for advertising, but it costs somebody, taking what Emily was saying, putting the details together and not missing anything. Because if you get an RFP and you omitted something or misquoted something that you wanted done, and there's going to be an understanding, you're not going to get an accurate RFP. It doesn't cost to post it, but the lady online said something about an adequate, keep it below whatever cost it would be that they've got in mind. You said there was an RFP put out and a feasibility study for the Career Center. What did that cost? The feasibility study, what did it cost? We know somewhere it's going to be a higher cost because of the different type of environment. And with what Terry was saying, what we could do between Barry Town and Barry City is get a memorandum of understanding, and that is adequate for making purchases when you're talking about supplies and needs, not education. But if you have a memorandum of understanding, you can put together something that you're going to start saving your financial expenses immediately. And those memorandums just get drawn up by the school boards and maybe an attorney for reference, so that when you make those purchases, the things flow in a manner and the delivery is scheduled for where the order comes from.
Any other comments from the public?
I mean, my comment would be in our FP request for that proposal is fascinating on all elements, taxpayers and educators, et cetera. Because you're gonna see who's interested in trying to help you out and who's not interested in helping you out, what areas it covers. And I think it's great dialogue, especially for folks around the table who have asked the question, what would this look like, et cetera. So as a taxpayer, it's my responsibility to also pay attention to that. So I think it's a good first step, whether you take action on a proposal, that's up to you.
Any other? Paul?
One of my concerns when I first heard about this, beyond the history that has existed when Act 46 came out, was transportation. We always talk about an equity in all things. We've had one of the few school systems in the state or a high school that's had no transportation. In order to make this work, we're going to have to transport large quantities of students if you're going to break the schools into segments, whether it's going to be a K-5 or a 5-8 or whatever that mechanism is going to be. That's going to require some transportation and certainly a lot of other stuff, which is why we need to do a study. But the other question that arises at, if we are talking about doing that, we haven't done anything for our high school transportation, so there might be a way of tying it in together, or maybe it's just adds another layer of expense and work and personnel usage that we haven't looked at. The question is, what is the benefit? Are we really seeing things really bad at these 200 schools, which are full right now? I mean, we have over 700 some odd students at Barry City Elementary School, middle school, and we have 870 some odd kids at the town. I mean, we're talking large populations. We're talking about 1,600, 1,700 kids being moved around. And I don't know what the appetite is for the voters and parents at this point to see that happen. That's my primary concern. Thank you.
All right. Let's turn back around one more time. Any other comments? None?
Marin.
Okay, so.
Hi
Sorry.
there.
Oh, okay, let me just finish the folks in the room and then
Oh,
we'll
sorry.
get back to you. I cannot see your name because I don't ever wear my glasses, so I do apologize. Lindsay?
So it just sounds like guys are broadening the scope rather than not just like a consolidation study. If you're talking about considering like compensation, how do we pay compared to other people in our area or in our state, in the Northeast, how that works? It doesn't sound like it's just for consolidations. You're looking for somebody to do a study about finding efficiencies, but also to improve the school with its the compensation. As I heard, salaries were going to be included in it.
We have a shared contract, collective bargaining agreement now so our salary structure is all the same between the schools.
Yeah, but this was going to be like a comparative, like looking at how we're paying. I heard it got brought up.
I didn't
So
hear that,
or
but-
this is just talking about the facilities then.
Facilities, transportation, curriculum, and how staff are shifted, but not their compensation. We have one contract now for the district.
Yeah, this is more like analyzing like how we're paying people here compared to what do they get paid if they go to Northfield or Montpelier? Plain people.
No, I don't believe
That's
that's,
not right.
no. That is
No
not right.
compensation study. And so it's just consolidating the school.
Correct. That's the way that I understand it. And
Specifically Barrytown and Barry City.
correct. And
Middle
that
elementary.
obviously would include
Pre-K.
any type of, usage of this building,
Potentially, yeah.
potential usage.
So it's gonna include sports.
It would have to, it would be BUUSD district as a whole. I
And then
believe,
there's the Allen Street School too. Is that
Yep.
part of it?
yeah, it would be a BUUSD,
Well, Well, just because it sounds like it's already drafted.
Yeah, it is all, that's what Lisa said. It was already drafted.
Yeah.
We could certainly bring it back next week after seeing the RFP. Would that be more comfortable with folks, or do we just want to?
Can I just clarify
Okay.
something? The RFP that Lisa referred to was done for the Career Center, for their reformulation. So it's not something that the BUUSD already has done. It's not completed by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, I got it. Posted it tomorrow.
Yeah, no. The Career Center could be a model that we could look at for their particular request for proposals.
For sure.
Yeah.
Emily?
Just wanted to remember online.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Sorry.
So Marin Russo.
Marin?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay, great. My name's Marin Russo. I am a 3rd and 4th grade teacher at Berrytown School. I'm also the parent of 2 of our students at Berrytown. And I am completely a data person, and I always feel the more information that we can get, the better informed we are and the better decisions we can make. With that said, I'd also like to encourage just seeking out that voice from the community and from the people who are currently in our schools all the time, and kind of getting a pulse there as well. Because, and I'm not, forgive me, I'm a little naive in how it all works, but if ultimately the people of the community are the ones who would vote to decide whether to consolidate buildings and things like that, I think getting a pulse on where people are somehow would make a lot of sense before going really deep into it. And again, forgive me for not knowing all the ins and outs of what it would look like. So just information. I'm always for information, but also just hearing from more people in the community about their initial thoughts about even the possibility of consolidating. And I know that those are hard choices to make without having numbers. With that said, someone else already spoke to that merging in itself was a quote hard pill to swallow, I think, for some people. So just keeping that in mind would be a suggestion.
I think that's it. So is there going to be a motion to ask the superintendent to do an RFP request for proposals?
So moved.
Or, okay, so Sonia makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and discussion. All right, so I'm going to go around.
So this is
Just to send the RFP out there, it will come back to us. It has to come back to us.
And how is the information that's going to be included in the RFP going to be determined? Who's going to determine that?
Staff is going to do that.
Yeah, one of the things we can do, we're not alone in trying to seek out this information on the state, so I can be in touch. Lisa can be in touch with other districts who've gone through similar things to get some shared knowledge.
So I'm going to finish.
But I would also like to say that it should not go out without.
This is a motion, we're not, discussion is over.
No,
Discussion. This is discussion. So,
It's okay.
but that the RFP shouldn't go out until the board has reviewed it.
Okay. So we're discussing the motion now, and I understand that I was going to go around, but I'm okay with ending rules occasionally, you know, as so the people.
Say that a little louder on the record, Michael. That's.
I know.
Jeez.
So,
All right.
so now you're asking for a vote on it.
We will be asking for a vote. Is there any additional comments about the motion itself? Nancy?
Yes, on the, whatever you're calling it, RFP, feasibility study, I'm not sure how you're gonna present it. You said the admin team is going to be preparing the questions for this?
They're going to be preparing the RFP.
Okay.
English.
Why wouldn't the board be involved in preparing the
Yeah,
language?
it's because the motion was to instruct the superintendent to prepare the RFP. Sonia? Or are you done, Nancy? Sorry.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Sonia?
you. To be clear, the motion that I was making was the one in the action memo. And it says motion to allow the superintendent or his designee to get bids for a feasibility study to consolidate schools. And I don't know if ever once in the many years I've been on the board that we as a board have ever reviewed what the RFP looks like before it goes out to bid. So I would not recommend having the board be involved with the RFP.
All right, so any other comments for people that haven't spoke? We're moving on from the public part of it. I believe that's the proper way to go about it.
Hi, I have a comment.
Well, so we've already moved from the public comment side.
Okay.
Sorry about
circle
that.
back. Nope, circle back.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So the motion is there and going around for the table for yes or no.
I would vote yes,
Okay.
with a caveat to be discussed later.
Okay. And Catherine?
Yes.
Okay. Emily?
Aye.
Juliana? Aye. Nancy? I'll switch over to Sonia and then go back to you. Sonia?
Aye.
Nancy? Yeah, all right. So Garrett?
Aye.
Terry? Okay, so the standard protocol is silence is, I'm not sure what to do with Nancy.
Abstention.
I would feel really uncomfortable with saying whether or not she voted for that. So I think there was a no comment vote.
What does the Robert's Rules of Order say?
I think it's well, silence is consent. So, okay, so she voted yes. All right. Moving on to the next agenda item,
And
which is,
just before
it passed,
Chair,
by the way.
Yeah, it passed, but there's always a first time for everything. And I heartily believe that with this type of RFP that's going out.
Are we in discussion again?
Point of order. I would make the motion that we have the board approve the RFP before it goes out.
Well,
I'll second
it's,
that.
all right, so discussion. Nancy,
Sorry, I had to step out for a moment. Did I miss anything?
you did. We said that you voted for it. If you want to, I'm okay with just saying whether or not you wanted to vote for that. Yes or no?
Vote for what?
For the RFP.
I would agree to it only if the board is going to be involved and have a say in what the RFP says.
So the
And-
motion was just that, so it's a yes or no?
Yes to the board being heavily involved.
Okay, so that was a yes. All right, so the next motion on the table is that it comes back to the board. It was a motion by Alice and seconded by Terry. Discussion. All right, so it's just a, yep. Sonia, sorry.
Oh, thank you. What's coming back to the board?
The draft RFP.
So
Yes.
the motion just passed to allow the superintendent or his designee to get bids for a feasibility study. We just approved that. So that doesn't, the RFP just goes out. It doesn't come back to the board.
No, it should come back. This
But
is-
we just voted yes that we were going, this was the motion that we voted on and it was approved.
Well.
Oh, boy.
The process for getting bids is an RFP, is a request for proposals.
Yes.
So I'm gonna rule that we're gonna vote on this. So I am gonna rule that, and then we'll have to have a conversation afterwards. With that being said, we're going around the table. Okay,
Yes.
Catherine?
What are
Emily,
we
we're
voting
we're
on,
voting
Michael?
whether or not to bring it back to the board.
Bring what back to the-
The RFP after it's been drafted.
No.
Okay, Juliana?
No.
Nancy?
Yes, and I don't know why the board would not want it.
All right. Sonia?
No.
Garrett?
Nay.
Harry? I vote no, motion fails. So moving on to the next agenda item. Old business, nothing's underneath it. Future agenda items. Just want to remind folks to get things on the agenda. We do need action memos. And Nancy? Nancy?
Do you need future agenda items?
Yep, that's what I'm asking for.
The action memo.
Okay, so you would have to prepare an action memo to put the action memo agenda on there. So, but we can definitely have that. So if you could forward that action memo to Tina and myself and the superintendent, please. Any additional items? Terry?
Final approval of the FY 23 financial audit never happened, so that should come back to the board.
Okay.
The minutes from February 1st, 2024 need to come to the board. There was supposed to be guidance from the district's attorney on action memos that never came back to the board. And there was an anonymous email from a community member that was never brought to the board and discussed.
So
those are board items. I'm not writing action memos on board items.
right, which would mean that it would fall on you. Sorry, Chris. All right. Any other items that folks want to bring forth? Nancy?
Discussion of the budget.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Building reports, right?
Building reports. Also, could we get updated financials?
Okay, I think that's all part of the normal process. We'll be doing that. Is there anything that anybody wants to add?
Well, we have policies.
We will not. No, everyone's not for the next meeting.
Done with future agenda items? All right. Next meeting, and that's going to be on March 27th. Here and via Google Meets. And of course, then we've got April 10th. We've got the Finance Committee, which is going to be meeting on Monday.
Monday here, 6 o'clock.
All right, and I think that's it for that. With that, moving on to executive session. Is there, and I do want to apologize. I thought you did have to do findings, and I was wrong. So, all right, so I was wrong. Happens a lot. A motion to go into executive session. Well, we will do a 5-minute.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to say that's a second, sir. So Giuliano, first and second.
Why?
Personnel, I assume, is what you're using.
We're going in to executive session for personnel, 2 personnel issues, both subject to VSA 313A1A. I was hoping that we could have Carol Merrill to join us as well.
Is that going to be included in your motion?
Yes.
And your second? Okay. With that, discussion? All those in favor say, Alice?
Aye.
Catherine? Emily?
Hi.
Juliana?
Aye.
Nancy?
Oh,
I think she said aye. Okay, thank you. Sonia?
And I'd like to request a link for the executive session, please.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Nancy and Sonia, I will send that to you as soon as I get out of this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Garrett?
Aye.
And Terry, aye. Motion passes. We will go into executive session in 5 minutes and we'll ask the folks out here
Thank
if you don't mind.
At the library, that door, take a left, and it's on your left.
Right on the button, Michael.